Guys, Ronin Man here. Hey, you guys probably know it happened a few weeks ago, but NBC Left Field contacted a lot of Mgtow creators, content creators, about doing a special, supposedly, on Mgtow. So, a lot of people there was a lot of talk about it and everything. And I thought, the first thought I thought is, let's look at NBC, because this is NBC's new unit, right? So NBC basically wants to make some news about, MGTOW men, and the whole area. Like, they're looking for controversial stuff, basically, right? I've got something like really controversial for Left Field right here. Okay, so NBC itself, the company that wants to put MGTOW in a bad light, okay, the company that is trying to make a documentary that's going to defame or discredit Mgtow, right? This same company, let's look at them. Let's have a look at them. Okay, so Matt Lauer's firing cast NBC call on Ronin Farrow in a whole new light. Okay, let's look at this here. So basically, a guy named Ronin Farrow, I don't know if you know him, but he had a very solid, and I found out about this when I did the Harvey Weinstein episode, but he had a very solid, basically, expose. It was a complete expose of Harvey Weinstein and his behavior. Anybody who knows, listen to my channel, listens to my thing. I'm not like a knee-jerk fan of anybody. I look at everything, like rationally and logically, right? So when I saw the Harvey Weinstein, I saw some people were making videos like another guy getting attacked, but I looked into it deeper, and actually that guy was a total fucking asshole, right? So there was nothing. I don't have anything in common with Harvey Weinstein, so I was like, oh fuck, this guy is bad news. So I did my episode on him and analyzed it in depth. I'll put the link down below if you haven't heard it. I think it's one of my best. But either way, but through that I saw this Ronin Farrow had basically totally uncovered the story. And the thing is when you talk about the news, right? When you talk about journalism, there's a lot of people who will call, like, say, let's say a newspaper and say, hey, I know something, right? This guy's corrupt, or, this company's doing this, illegal dumping or something, right? But, and the average person would think, oh, they broke the story, they told the story to the news organization. But that's not really true, because news needs a lot of facts. They have journalism has a long history. There's a long, you need to follow the protocol of news and journalism in order to have your story published, and you need a lot of facts. You need to do a lot of research. It's a lot of work, right, to do good journalism, right? And you're not seeing a lot of good journalism these days, but to break a story as a kind of journalist, you really need to know your stuff. You have to back it up, right? Well, that's what happened with this one. That's why this one is such a big deal. It's not a big deal because some guy called NBC and said, hey, somebody who's often on your show, blah blah blah, has a lot of connections to your show, is harassing, is raping women. That's one thing, but he had all the facts. He had the recording. He had the leaked recording of the Argentinian actress where she was obviously being molested. It was like really bad, right? So they had all kinds of facts. They had done their research. They had done everything. They crossed the T's. They dotted the I's. They had done everything they needed to do. Now that's the thing that makes it weird. So they handed NBC this stunning expose of Harvey Weinstein, which NBC could have broken before everybody else. Why didn't they break it, right? So now NBC wants to do a special on Mgtow, right? They want to make some controversial thing. I think the best story right now is inside NBC. So an expose on NBC. Because NBC is the one that is they are really the ones that are covering up rape and basically harming women in a big, big way. And not in, like, if you look at Mgtow, a lot of people don't understand Mgtow, even early new Mgtows, right? But guys just on this channel, but basically it's men going their own way. So it's exact opposite of any kind of violence, any kind of aggressive action, right? That would be more of some kind of traditional tradcon kind of way of thinking, right? But Mgtow is basically like, hey, look, this is not a good system, right? I don't like this system. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go my own way. And going your own way means obviously you're not involved. So you can't even, if you're not there, you're not violent, right? You're not part of the system. You're just basically saying no. It's similar to somebody who said, look, I'm not happy with the way universities are treating men these days, and I'm going to get a trade, right? I'm going to go to a trade school, right? So it's very different from somebody who goes to university, does a lot of protests, is protesting the school, right? It's a completely different person. They're busy, they're getting a trade, they're paying for their trade school, they're probably doing some kind of apprenticeship, and they're in a totally different mode, right? And that's how Mgtow is. And so to portray them as somehow hurting women or bad to women is really crazy, and it's going to come out. I think Mgtow will be a huge trend in the future, and a lot of these lies will be uncovered in the future. But right now, there's still a lot of unknowns, and people are just like basically assuming a lot of stuff, and they're attaching basically other groups to Mgtow. So that, for example, they see a bunch of guys in a picture, and they'll just assume that some kind of a racial group, or they'll assume it's some kind of against something, or like anarchist group or whatever. People basically are just, their imaginations when they see Mgtow tells you more about them than it tells you about Mgtow, right? Because it tells you what they think, right? So when you ask somebody what is Mgtow, it's very interesting what they say, because to me, and I think to most of my friends, I mean, like, Mgtow is going your own way, and that means not changing people. That means total lack of any kind of aggression in any way. It's completely like not trying to change the system. If you look at other groups like the MRAs, men's rights, which anybody who knows me knows I'm not against them. I think that it's good that there's people out there trying to change the structure of divorce laws and things like that. So anybody is an MRA, you're very welcome on this channel. But just to draw the line between the two groups so you can understand it, MRAs are trying to change the structure of the legal system, okay, so that men have more rights. Okay, Mgtow is just basically saying, hey, I don't think it's a good deal for me to join this system, right? So I'm not going to join this system, right? I'm not going to change it, right? I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to move things around. I'm not going to protest. I'm just basically not going to join it, right? I'm not going to sign up for the system it has for me, right? I'm going to do something else. It's something like a kid maybe you would homeschool your kid instead of sending them to school, right? It's very different than somebody who goes to a school and blows the school up, right? Obviously, right? If you do homeschooling, it's like you just don't want to be part of the school system, and you think you can do a better job, right? So you're going to do it on your own, right? That's very similar to Mgtow. Mgtow is also very similar to Zen, because Zen is very difficult to understand for new people that have never heard the concept. But Zen is basically a nothingness. It's an emptiness, and it's not a set of rules. So to somebody who's a Christian or a Muslim, they're going to have like, what is it? Like, who is this? And who is God? Who is it? What am I supposed to do? Should I put it in the front hole of the girl or the back hole? Is that okay? Do I need a marriage certificate? Do I need a legal contract with the government in order to have to put it in that hole? Or do I not? There's all these rules that basically religious people are always trying to follow, right? What should I do, right? With Zen, there isn't anything like that. There's no rules. It's just like basically it's a stillness, and it's a finding peace like within yourself, right, within the universe, and that is very similar to Mgtow. I think Zen Buddhism, actually, real Zen, is the closest thing to Mgtow that there is. It's just basically totally like letting go and feeling yourself, feeling your feelings, right? Feeling how you feel about stuff, rather than jumping in and doing things that you think you're supposed to do, or your mom wants you to do, or society wants you to do, or your boss wants you to do. It's basically feeling yourself and saying, do I feel comfortable with doing this? Is this something I want to do, right? Or should I do something else, right? And if I do something else, what do I want to do, right? It's that finding yourself. And that's the kind of the process of becoming, understanding, going more towards the Mgtow Brotherhood, is basically like looking at yourself, analyzing the things that you're kind of lying to yourself about, the things that you took on that aren't really you. there's somebody else, right? And you're slowly saying, what is me? What am I? You know, who am I? What do I want at this stage of my life? Again, nothing is permanent. So you're looking for how you feel today now. I for myself, and I don't mean like it changes every day. What I mean is, in your life, you're going to go through seasons, right? There's the season, there's the winter, there's the spring, there's the fall, there's the summer, right? It's a season and depends on you, right? So, in that season sense, I would say that your winter, right, is your death, getting close to your death, right? So your summer is when your career is really going crazy, when you have the most friends, when you're out there creating things in your network, right? Spring is the beginning when you're learning and you're getting up, right? And then fall comes along and it starts to slow down and you take a different track in life, right? So that's what I mean is like you will change and your body will change, your thinking will change. And that's okay. So Mgtow is going to become, it's already a big tent, okay? A lot of people assume, and this is really crazy to me, they assume that Mgtow is only for one race of men. And I really think you should look online, look at the various Mgtow content creators, you look at the people following, and what you're going to find is the exact opposite. You're going to find like men from all walks of life, in all countries, gravitating towards Mgtow. Everybody from in Japan, we're seeing more Mgtow, like less, not the Japanese herbivore thing is different. Right, we're seeing more like real MGTOWs contacting me specifically because I made Japan videos, right? And I haven't done a Japanese version yet, but I will in the future. But we're also seeing like one of if you go to like on my Twitter feed, I don't know, like maybe 40% is from India. Huge MGTOW movement in India, right? MGTOW is all over the world and it's all types of people. This is a very, very important thing to know. It's men going their own way, okay? It's not white men, it's not black men, it's not Hispanic men, it's not Indian men, yeah, it's not Chinese men, it's men going their own way, and the tent is big and welcome. And we're seeing here at the conference is coming up next week, and we're already having people show up, and you'd be really shocked if you think that it is some certain race of people, you're out of your mind. The group is like amazing actually, and super cool guys too. So we're going to do a video later today with some of the early arrivals, as we just start heading towards next weekend, where the conference starts on the 8th, right? But to me, it's already started. The cool guys are already showing up. We're having a great time. Okay, so back to NBC, right? So NBC basically, I can say right here, they are like the worst network when it comes to protecting women that there ever was. These guys are the worst. I mean, look at this here. So Ronin hands them a months-long investigation with details, with recordings. I mean, this guy he's a contributor to NBC News himself. He has a show, Undercover with Ronin. I mean, he has been on the Today Show. He's done, and this guy who works for NBC, writes an expose talking about Weinstein. And guess what? It gets squashed within his own company. Why did it get squashed? NBC, left wing that contacted Mgtow, contacted me, contacted Chris Cantu, contacted everybody. Now, all the content creators got an email from Meredith at the NBC News, and they were trying to discredit Mgtow. But let's look at what they could have done. Meredith could be working on a much bigger story. Ronin was working on it. Ronin Farrell, a man, was going to break this thing, but it got squashed. Okay, now let's see here. It didn't make sense. Why did it get squashed? This guy works for NBC. He's a full-on journalist. He's not some crazy guy calling into the show with some random information with no facts. He's a guy who has his own show on NBC. He knows exactly what NBC needs. He did his research. He was ready. And he was going for a scoop, it's called, right? When you break a story, right? And he offered it to NBC, but they turned it down, right? So, okay, let's see. Why did he do that? It would have been awkward, like Matt Lauer. Okay, we're going to get into this motherfucker on the right here pretty soon in this podcast. But this guy, holy crap, he's NBC, right? You got to see what this guy's up to. Oh, man. This is perfect, Meredith. NBC Left Wing should definitely do a special on NBC itself. And I recommended that to her in an email. That this is the most explosive, best idea. If you want a wingnut group of crazy people, NBC executives would be an excellent choice for this type of left-wing type of documentary. And so I would start recording immediately, undercover, at my office in NBC if I was you, and start recording like crazy. You know, get the best camera you can. You can put a camera, you know, like you can put a phone underneath your shirt and it shows through, it'll film, actually. If you check it out, try it. Take a white t-shirt, put your phone underneath it, and you can start recording right away, and pretty good audio too. Try everything. Obviously, you're a journalist, so you'll know better. But there's a lot of things you can do to start setting up cameras, start recording, start getting a good documentary. Because these left wing, the biggest left wing is the or best left wing story is the NBC itself, right? So let's go. So obviously they couldn't NBC, because they had so many sex predators working for them. It was going to be difficult for them to do the Ronin Pharaoh episode, right? You know, how could they do, you know, Ronin, like similar to Ronin Man, right? Ronin Pharaoh, you know, he really is working for the wrong company, right? He had the right heart and he had the right idea and he did his research. So, okay, so let's go back. Let's go to here. Okay, so get this. Okay, this is how bad it was at NBC. Okay, so Matt Lauer essentially had a sex dungeon at his office. So what he had was he had a remote control that would lock the door from the inside out. So when a woman came into his office and closed the door, he would press his remote control and lock the door behind her. I think that's something like some kind of confinement, kidnapping. There's something, I think that any judge would probably say this is illegal, because it's one thing to go and lock a door, right? You know, just to say, hey, you know, I'm going to lock the door right now, you know. But it's another thing to lock it without their permission. And then let's see what he did next. Let's see how that went. Okay, so yeah, basically Lauer, you knew this was explosive. And you knew that it's just endemic at NBC because they got rid of him right away. Right away. Like, everybody was shocked because this guy is like a well-known figure. Like, you've watched his shows, this guy, right? So how could he get fired so easily and so quick? The reason is because there's explosive shit going on, right? That's why, right? Anytime somebody like this goes down this fast, you know that more is coming, right? So let's see what's coming here. And this is just the beginning, right? So basically, he had his own dungeon, right? Okay, so multiple women, so everybody knew about it, right? He gave sex toys, he gave vibrators, obviously, to, that's what I assume, it's a vibrator, right? What else could it be? And he gave vibrators to other colleagues at the office. And an explicit note about how he wanted to use it on her. Okay, explicit note about how he wanted to use it. That means, what does that mean? Like, think about what that explicit note said. I don't like the fact that they don't write. This is what I hate about journalists today, is they don't write the specifics. I want to see the note that he wrote, okay? I want to see the exact words he used with this woman. This woman that didn't report it, and she's the co-host of the show, the Today Show, right? The Today Show, Matt Lauer, right? He was handing a vibrator to somebody he worked with an explicit note, and I want to see that fucking note. I can't wait till it comes out. It isn't out yet. Okay, so he summoned other women to his office. He dropped his pants. He displayed his penis. That's pretty simple there. And then she didn't do anything, right? She didn't jump on her knees there. And again, this goes back to you got to listen to my Harvey Weinstein episode, because I'm not into this shit where everybody's like getting down on Mgtow, getting down on pickup artists, getting down on MRAs when they're not looking at it logically. If you look at pickup artists, they learn to improve themselves. I'm not saying they're perfect, but at least they're out there. Guys trying their best. They're cutting their hair. They're getting cooler clothes. They're going to comedy. They're going to stand-up comedy classes. They're learning things. They're going to the gym. They're trying to improve themselves, right? Which is totally cool if you ask me. I mean, they're not just like pressuring girls like this guy. This is the opposite of pickup right here. This is a guy who needs pickup, right? He's so lame that he has to use his power and his money and his position to get laid. And he does it very awkwardly, you know, very, very lame, man. Nobody would do this. Like, you know, Mgtows would never do this. MRAs, I don't know, but I can't imagine. It just doesn't seem like the kind of guys in MRA movement. And also, obviously, pickup artists, they're like, dude, like, don't, you know, pickup guys would say, hey, look, don't even show them where you work. Don't show them your money. Go to the club, go to the coffee shop, and man up and go talk to the people you want to talk to. Get their number, and then seduce them. Only with your skills. Don't use anything. Don't use a funny, cute dog. Don't use any money. Don't use your position. Don't use your family. Don't use anything. Improve yourself to the point that you can actually go up and approach women, and they're going to like you. Okay? Now, this is the opposite. This is what happens when you don't improve yourself. What happened to Matt Lauer here? He's got all the money. He's got the position. And what is he doing? He's so lame, he has to pressure women. He has to basically rape women in order to get laid. That's how bad this guy is. I mean, that to me is just so pathetic. They're not talking about it in this thing, but you don't have to be like this, guys. If you do want to get laid, and I think that's totally fine, you know, obviously, you know, you got to learn to improve yourself. You never, ever pressure a woman. I never got a woman drunk to have sex. Not even drunk. Not to mention, like, stupid idiots like, oh, what's his name? The guy who's the Hungarian-born producer who now lives in France. Oh, what's his name? He raped a 13-year-old girl, and he gave her drugs. I mean, this kind of idiot is just like, you know, don't be like that, guys. Do not be like that. Improve yourself. Don't use your position. Don't use anything, and never pressure anybody in anything. It's more like honey, you know. You're like honey, baby. People want honey. You know, it's like that old story. This is the old story. I love this story. There's the God and the devil, right? And then they see this guy walking on the beach, and they're going to have a contest to see if they can get him to take off his jacket. So the devil goes first, and he starts blowing wind, and he starts, you know, like rain and terrible this, and then the guy's just like, oh, sorry, not rain, sorry, wind. He just trying to blow it off, right? And then he finishes, he can't get the guy to take the jacket off. So then, you know, God just puts the sun out, gets nice and warm, and then he takes the jacket off, right? That's the way you want to be in life. If you want anything, you make it attractive, you make it natural so that people want to do the thing that you want to do, right? And if that person doesn't, you find somebody else, right? You can't change people. You got to go out and look for the right people. But once you do, it's like that. It's that kind of thinking. It's the thinking of sunshine, and you find the right person, and you make it happy. You make them comfortable. You make them want to be with you, and then everything works out totally fine, right? Okay, so back to this whole thing. This psychopath here working for the company who has a sex dungeon in his office and runs the Today Show, and the perfect target of a documentary by NBC Left Field, who's being totally ignored by NBC, by the way. You know, so I'll just read this here. His office was in a secluded space. He had a button under his desk that allowed him to lock his door from the inside without getting out. This afforded him the assurance of privacy. So basically nobody could come in. It allowed him to welcome female employees and initiate inappropriate contact while knowing nobody could walk in on him. Right? This is not inappropriate conduct. This is basically rape, what he was doing. Right? This guy is raping women at NBC News with a dungeon, basically kidnapping them, right? Some kind of confinement here. And NBC doesn't want to break this story. And they want to break a story, a bunch of guys who basically just want to do their own thing, right? You know, get your priorities straight, NBC. This is the story you should be working on. And really cleaning out the swamp in your company, right? So yeah, so basically, yeah, there's we won't go into this anymore. I just want to say quickly, at the end here, we're having the conference. It's already started. If anybody wants to fly into Bangkok, the crew is here, baby, and we're having fun. And there's more people coming tonight. Chris Cantu's coming tonight. Miggy's coming in today. There's a bunch of guys that are already here that are jet lagged, that are kind of hanging out, not coming in yet. And there's guys right now. We're going out to the pool here in a few. We'll probably shoot a video for you. So, guys, enjoy your life. You know, if you can make it, come on out. We'll have a great time. And if you can't, just blow this shit off. People trying to make you look bad. People trying to associate with groups that you don't care about. You know, you decide who you are, okay? Other people don't decide who you are. You decide, right? You go your own fucking way. That's Mgtow. That's Mgtow. Not making other people do things. Not forcing people. No. Not being violent. No. Not the Fed. Not anti-police. No. Not violent. No. Not a single race. It's a major group of men, and it's growing very quickly. I wouldn't be surprised, personally, from my Twitter feed, I wouldn't be surprised if Indian men in India are the #1 Mgtow. Like, even if you take all the Mgtows in the world and you divide them by half, I wouldn't be surprised if half are in India at this moment. And I'd love to get, if you're an Indian Mgtow, you want to be on the channel, on the show, contact me right away. I'd love roninmgtow@gmail.com. I'd love to do an interview about India, because I know India quite well. I've traveled through India extensively for periods of time in different times of my life, and I love India. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about what's going on in India and what's going on with men in India. I also want to do another channel. I'm going to do another episode on China. We did Japan. I want to do one on China. China is very interesting because in order to get married in China, you need to buy a house for the woman. You have to buy a house. If you don't buy a house, it's called a naked marriage, right? Because there's no house. Yeah, you got to buy a house, and houses are, I think you know, in China, they're like very, very expensive, right? $1 million for a small little place in Beijing, right? So you got to buy something like that, which is probably a bubble, right? And, you know, risk your future, you know, take all your family's money. You know, we're going to talk about all this stuff that happens in China. Mgtow in China, Mgtow in India. I'd love to get somebody from Mgtow in Africa. Any Mgtows in Africa, contact me. I'd love to do a special on you. There's a gay Mgtow channel on Twitter. Follow them. There's all kinds of Mgtow, you guys. I'm sure there's like Mgtow in every area, every country. It's growing all over the place. It's not attached to one place. It's definitely not attached to one type of person. Ain't no way. It ain't even one age. It's not like young and old. We have guys coming to the conference that are in their 60s, and we have guys in their early 20s. So it isn't even age. It's guys tired of the way that they're being just endlessly berated for stuff, you know, that they're not even doing. And they're just saying, hey, you know, go ahead, do what you want, but I ain't going to be involved in it, right? So either way, Ronin Man signing off. We got a lot to do this week. It's going to be a very exciting week. And thanks for listening. Subscribe to the channel. Please share. I appreciate the comments are coming in like crazy. The channel's exploding. And it's because of you, man. It's because of all the comments and shares and likes. I cannot thank you guys enough. Every single day, I kid you not, every day I wake up like motivated, because I feel it's like this is like one of my major calls in life, you know. So if you feel that same way for yourself, man, I'm telling you, Mgtow, man, this is gonna grow, and it's gonna become something very powerful. So get on board, get your own style, right? You don't have to follow me. You don't have to follow exactly what I do. You can choose somebody else, right? Choose another way, right? Find another. Discover a whole new way to do your life, right? And tell people about it. Tell people about how you figured it out, how you figured this whole new way out, right? For me, until now, it's been living overseas. It's being away from feminism. You know, it's been, you know, that has been one of my major things, and also not working for a company, right? And not getting married, right? And multiple women. That was always my thing. Actually, the multiple women thing is not right now, but it's been my whole life until now. So, you know, that's been in different, like I said, different decades. You have different seasons, okay? So to understand Mgtow and to really, you know, you need to put on your big boy pants, because it's complicated sometimes. Life is complicated, right? But the thing is, the payoff is huge, man, because when you sign up for like the matrix that society has for you, and you go unthinking into your life, I mean, you're going to be older. You're going to think, what was I thinking? Like, why did I think I had to do that? Like, who told me? Like, what was I, what was going on in my mind? Why didn't I do what I wanted to do, right? Why didn't I live the life that I wanted to fucking live, right? That's what Mgtow's about. That's what Mgtow's totally about, right? And there's even women that support Mgtow, by the way. There are definitely women who support Mgtow. There are women in the world, okay, that love men and want men to be happy. There are. You don't even fucking doubt it for a second. There are. And the thing is, so it's not even, Mgtow is not even, you know what I mean? It's like, there are people, for example, women that love their parent, their dad. There are women who love their brother and support their brother. And their brother means a shit ton to them, right? And they approve of their brother being happy. And they approve of their dad. A lot of women that support Mgtow have contacted me because their mother and father divorced, and their mother was so mean to their dad that it really changed their viewpoint on women, because they're like, fuck, the fuck is wrong with women? My dad was fucking awesome growing up, and my mom's a fucking bitch, and look what she did to my dad, and that's why they would support, right? Now, there are going to be fake people who are going to get on board. There's going to be people like that. You have to watch out for that. But that being said, the early people in any movement, whether you're talking about Silicon Valley, whether you're talking about the early settlers in a country, whether you're talking about the beginning of a rise of any group, they're the most sincere. They're really serious about it, right? And so if you look at the Mgtow movement, it's a new movement with a lot of emotion, and you see a lot of sincere people, right? As it grows, it gets older. You're going to see it. It'll dilute, and there'll be all kinds of things. But right now, it's a very exciting movement. I'll tell you that. And I'm very glad to be part of it. So, Ronin Man signing off. Getting ready for a week leading up to the conference. It's going to be fucking awesome. We're going to have a lot of good videos for you. If you can jump on a plane, come out. Don't worry about it. Thailand's the easiest place to visit in the world. And you got a shit ton of guys here who are going to support you and help you out. Make sure that you get settled and make sure everything works out for you. And so don't